Hey, folks, welcome aboard. We will be starting in just a few minutes. So let's go ahead and begin. So Janani, let's go to the next slide. So by way of introduction, my name is Gary Skulnik. I am the CEO and founder of Neighborhood Sun, and I've been in the climate and clean energy space for unfortunately 25 years now. I say unfortunately because we were hoping to have this solved about 20 years ago, but of course that didn't work out. But I've been working as a environmental advocate and a entrepreneur, so I've attacked the problem from all sides. I live in Maryland with my family and three kids, and am really excited to talk to you guys about community solar. It's something I'm very passionate about because it combines two of my favorite things, fighting climate change through clean energy and also supporting local power. And Janani?
Hello, I am Janani. I am the VP of Customer Development for Neighborhood Sun. So I oversee all of the customer communications and customer service for our company. Um, a bit about myself. I'm also based in Maryland. I actually grew up in Virginia. Um, and I also have a master's in sustainability ethics. So my focus is all about finding ethical ways to be green and improve the renewable energy sector. Welcome to our presentation.
All righty, next slide. So today we are going to cover a few topics. What is community solar, why it matters, and how it works. I see many of you are customers, but it never hurts to go over it again because you'd be surprised at how many customers are still not exactly sure what it is. What does that mean for you, the subscriber, and for the communities that we serve? And then a brief little bit about Neighborhood Sun, and then we will open it up for questions and answers. And before we continue, I want to say that if you have questions and you're worried you're going to forget it, you can go ahead and put it in the chat now. And when we're ready for the Q&A session, we'll also be asking you to put the questions in the chat. And then I would also ask that I will tell you that we're going to prioritize questions that might be more applicable to the larger group. So if you have questions that are very specific to your account or your situation, we will stay as long as we need to answer those, but that will come after we answer the more general questions. And with that, let's move on. So community solar is where you have a field of solar panels that are off-site, so not meaning they're not at your house or your business, that generate clean energy and feeds into your local utility grid. Residents can share the energy and receive all the benefits of solar power without any equipment to install or upfront fees. So you are not making an investment. You are not buying any equipment. It's a subscription. Anybody who pays an electric bill can subscribe, which helps to build stronger communities, fight climate change, and of course, what we're all excited about as well is save money in the process. So another way to think about it is that your subscription represents a percentage of the total project's output. So we try to match that to your individual electricity usage. And so everybody's going to have a different share size. My share size might be the equivalent of 5 panels, and Mary's might be 10 panels, and Emily's could be 1 panel even. But this is a virtual share size. You're not actually buying these panels on the solar farm. And who's involved in community solar? Well, there are many different players, and it really should all start with the customer, but we don't. We have that. You're over there on the right. Uh, so I'll just go from left to right on my screen. You have subscriber organizations like Neighborhood Sun. There are several out there. We're not the only ones. And the subscriber organization, their role is to get customers for the project, to help you enroll with the project, and then as the project's running, the subscriber organization is the company that is sending you bills, answering your questions, and um, coordinating with the utility on your behalf. The utility is still involved, unfortunately. I wish we could bypass them, but they control the wires and the infrastructure. You have the EPC slash developer. So that's the engineering, procurement, and construction is EPC. These are the guys who actually put on the hard hats and build the project. They acquire the panels, they acquire all the material for the project, and they buy it. They build it. The developer is the one who secures the land site, gets all the permits set up, and kind of project manages the EPC. Now, sometimes the developer will be the same company as the finance owner, but many times they're not. So the developer usually gets the project started to a place where it's in good shape, and then they sell it to the next group here, the finance owner. So those are the companies that either invest or lend the money for the project, and they are the ones who own it for the long term. As I said, the customers, and without customers, these projects do not get built. So if you want to make more clean energy on the grid, community solar is a fantastic way to do it. And finally, local organizations, at least as far as Neighborhood Sun's concerned, but I think a lot of, even our competitors work with local organizations. The best way to get the word out and to support local initiatives through NGOs or businesses or schools, faith institutions, and get communities together to participate in a project. So then how does it actually work for the like, what is the actual process? So starting at number one is you subscribe to the program through a subscriber organization like Neighborhood Sun. So since many of you look like you're already customers, you know that experience. You go to our website, you fill out a lot of information, you sign an electronic contract. In most states, you also have to provide billing information. And then once you do that, you get assigned a share in number two or percentage based on how much energy you used in the last year. So an easy way to think about it, just to use easy math, is let's say the project produces 100,000 kilowatt hours in a year. And let's say your house uses 10,000 kilowatt hours in a year. We would assign you 10% of the output. Okay, now does that mean you're going to get the exact same amount every month? No, because solar is variable. In some months you're going to get more, and some months you're going to get less. But over the course of the year, you will get the equivalent of 10%, which would equate to the 10,000 kilowatt hours that you use. Number three, the energy generated goes to the utility under your name. The utility doesn't pay for it. What they do, though, is they kind of quote unquote pay you by giving you the net metering credits on your bill. And that's number four. It's like the utility pays you for that energy, as I just said, with credits on your bill. And it really is the same impact as if you had solar on your roof. If you have solar on your roof and your rooftop system produces power through the magic of net metering, that power goes to the grid, to the utility for free. They don't pay you for it, but they give you credit for every kilowatt hour you send to the grid. They give you a credit on your bill, and that's how your bill goes down. Same thing with community solar, except you don't have the panels on your actual roof. Why does it matter? Well, for me, it matters because a quarter of our greenhouse gas emissions come from electricity generation and distribution. And some of you guys might have heard about a lot of efforts to electrify the grid. And part of the reason for that is because it's a lot easier to make the grid green than it is to change over industry, which is 23%, and transportation, even with all the EVs, that's going to take a long time to really change. Uh, so it's really important that we green up the grid, and community solar is a very powerful way to do that. And by the way, roughly 80% of people can't get rooftop solar. So if we just had rooftop solar, you're leaving out 80% of the market in the US. So if we're going to really make clean energy more accessible, community solar is the solution to that. And it's the only kind of solar that also works very well for low and moderate income people. So it really is about equity as well. And the general terms and benefits. Janani, was I going to do this one or you? I forgot.
I think you were, Gary.
Okay, got it. Sorry, we practiced before. It's free to join, so you don't have to pay any initiation fee or upfront investment. There's no fees to cancel, but it does take a few months for cancellations to go into effect, and we can explain that more if people have questions about that. But basically, well, when Jenny gets into the billing, you'll probably understand. You have the same dependability of your power. It's not like you have to worry if the sun's not shining, you don't get power. Um, you are getting a fixed, and it says typically discounted. Really, for every project we work, they're all discounted. Um, and the discount can be anywhere from 5% up to, I think we have one project where it's 30% for low and moderate income people. It supports locally produced clean energy and jobs. So it's not just about fighting climate change, which is, of course, extremely important, but it's also about cleaning up your local air quality. The more community solar projects you have in your neighborhood or your state, the less coal or natural gas plants you need. And it's also about environmental justice because a lot of coal and polluting power plants have been built in uh, underserved communities around cities. And so if we can switch to community solar, it also helps the people who live in the cities and deal with a lot of chronic asthma. Uh, you would continue to receive the electricity from your current utility provider. In Maryland, you can switch from your utility, but it doesn't matter from a community solar perspective. In Colorado, I don't think you can switch. So you just have your utility as your provider, and it's easy to sign up online. All right, and I will pass it over to my colleague Janani to talk about billing.
Yep. So just let me know if you can't hear me clearly. I'm just getting over a cold, so that's why I sound a little bit gravelly. But um, I'm here to answer some of the questions you guys might already have about billing and some of the nitty-gritty of the timeline between when you see those credits and when we bill you for them. Um, so before I go into the billing process, I do want to start with one caveat, which is that if you are a New York customer, this is going to be very different for you. So before I get into the billing timeline, most of our customers on this call are going to follow this billing timeline and our standard billing process. New York is a little ahead of the curve where they have introduced consolidated billing as a legislative action. What that means is New York customers don't actually need to get a second invoice from us or a separate bill from us. Everything is done on their utility bill. It's like a dream come true. It makes it so much easier for the customers and also for us. Maryland also did approve consolidated billing, and they're on track to get that instituted in the next, year or two. But it takes a while to get the infrastructure in place for that. So it is the goal for us in working in community solar that as many states adopt consolidated billing as possible, but it's a bit of a slow trajectory. And Gary can talk more about that at the end if you have any questions about it. But for our New York customers, disregard the billing timeline because it all happens directly on your utility bill. For everybody else, this is how it works. So when you guys signed up, you receive a share of a solar farm. So there is a solar farm in your utility region that you belong to. That solar farm generates power every single day of the year. And in a monthly basis, so if we look at January, throughout the entire month of January, that solar farm generates power. At the end of the month, so like around the 30th, 31st, your utility company is going to look at the meter on the solar farm and see how much energy was generated during that entire month of January. And then they're going to go ahead and assign everybody who's assigned to that solar farm, everybody who has a share, they're going to assign solar credits to every customer. And those solar credits appear on your utility bill. Depending on your utility provider, those credits can appear in different places of your bill. We do have an example later that shows BGE, which has a very straightforward utility bill, but you can find sample utility bills on our website under the support page that show you exactly where to find those credits. So once those credits appear on your utility bill, the utility company then informs us how many credits you received. And this process can take almost a whole month. So for those of you who are in Pepco, for example, you might already know this, that you might get your utility bill at the middle of the month, but some people might get it at the start of the month. So the utility company doesn't tell us how many credits were sent out until everybody's gotten their utility bill for that month. So during the entire month of February, those bills go out with credits on them. And then they tell us at the end of February, okay, John Smith got this many credits and Sally got this many credits. And once we know that information, we send out invoices for those solar credits minus your guaranteed discount percentage. So because of this timeline of waiting for the utility company to assign out those credits and also tell us how many credits were received, that is why you can be invoiced for credits that showed up on your previous month's utility bill. So in this case, January is when the power was generated. You get that utility bill in February with those credits, and in March, you get your invoice from Neighborhood Sun. Um, we'll go in a little bit more detail on the next slide to show you the comparison of what the utility bill and the invoice looks like. So here's a good visualization of how these two bills connect. So your utility bill has all of the charges on there from your utility company. And one of the most common questions that we get is, why do I still pay a utility bill when I'm getting community solar? The answer to that is that we are not a utility provider. Your utility provider actually owns those power lines in your neighborhood. They're also responsible for supplying electricity and delivering it from wherever that supply comes from to your home. They're responsible for maintaining the power grid, for repairing any issues, for keeping the lights on. So that's why you still pay your utility company. But the majority of your usage is going to be covered by community solar. So what the remaining balance that you usually pay your utility company is going to be those supply fees, delivery fees, any taxes and fees associated with your state and electricity. And then the remaining, you're going to see a big chunk of credits that appear like a rebate. It's a subtraction off of your utility bill because you don't pay for your solar with your utility company. You pay for that with us. So that month later, you're going to get an invoice from Neighborhood Sun with those credits listed at the top, as you see the $100 credits here at the top, minus the guaranteed discount. Between 5% and 30%, depending on your income status. And you will then pay the remaining balance. So in this example, this customer received $100 in credits. They get a 20% discount, so they only pay $80 for that energy. Like I said before, New York
So
is
the
a little bit
stands we were
different.
sitting in are the ones all the way over to the right.
Oh,
Um,
and
that you
we,
can barely see.
oh, I'm sorry.
Not the one straight ahead,
wait, Anne, are you talking to us or
but the
oh, okay. Keep going, Janani.
Okay, no worries. If there are any questions, just put it in the chat. I'll be happy to answer it at the end. Um, we have a couple more examples here that will show more realistically a Maryland utility bill. So here we have a BGE utility bill. I find the BGE utility bills to be some of the most easily understood utility bills. It's very easy to read in its layout, and it's easy to find the solar credits. As I said, every utility company presents solar credits a little bit differently. So if you're not sure where to find them, please look at our website and look at a sample utility bill. But in this example, you can see right on first page of the BGE utility bill, under the other charges, so under electricity and gas, there is a section called other charges and credits. And this is where BGE notes solar credits. And it's always subtracted off of the utility costs. The goal is that when we assign you a share of the solar farm, we're going to try to cover as much of your electric usage as possible so that you're not paying for all of that through your utility, but you're getting as much from the solar farm as you possibly can. So generally speaking, your credits should cover about 90% of your what would have traditionally been your usage costs. In the next example, I have actually a sample invoice for those credits. So if we go back, this customer received $56.31 in solar credits. That was taken off of the total of their utility bill. And the following month, they receive an invoice from us. And this is what the invoices look like every month. So at the top, you have your general information with the dates so that you can always confirm, what date this invoice is for. The invoice period at the top is usually going to reflect when those solar credits were applied. So February 3rd to March 5th, this is likely when the utility bill that we're charging for was received by the customer. So it would have been received around March 5th. And the actual credits, as you can see, are here in the middle section under the description, $56.31. This customer received a 10% discount. So even though they received $56 of energy, we are only charging them $50.68. Every invoice has a guaranteed discount, and our fixed contract term also assures that we cannot change that. So you will always get a discount off of your total charges. If you have any questions about this invoice, we can also go over it at the end, but what you really only need to know here is that your credits are going to be listed on the invoice with your discount. You can always find the date of the period range of when the utility bill was, but where those credits were applied. And you'll see which payment method at the bottom we are charging. So if you have a bank account on file or a credit card or a debit card, that should show up at the bottom so you know exactly how we're charging. And all of our invoices are charged through automatic payments as well. So where can you find the information about your credits? Most of you are already aware of My Solar. My Solar is our customer platform that you can log into and access. It's a great resource for our customers because it not only houses all your invoices and your information, but it also shows you the environmental impact that your subscription has. So you can always see how you are offsetting carbon through your community solar subscription. So in this example, this customer has offset a total of 31 metric tons of CO2, which is about 100,000 pounds of coal, which is about 5.8 gas-powered cars taken off the road for a year. I think that really puts into perspective the impact that your individual subscription has on the environment by you switching to a more renewable energy source. What you'll also see is your savings. So a lot of people sign up for community solar, both for the environment, but also because you have that guaranteed discount. Depending on your discount percentage, over a period of time, you're going to really see that amount grow. So you'll see that you are saving yourself money every year by being enrolled in community solar. You can also change your payment method, view all your invoices, and you can also change your contact information, like your phone number, if that at all changes. If you ever have any questions, you can also contact us. My solar will also tell you to email us at hello@neighborhoodsun.solar. And if you're really happy with your subscription, your My Solar customer portal is also where you can find your referral information. We continuously run referral campaigns where if you refer a friend, you and your friend can also get some kind of bonus gift card or additional discount. We have different promotions going throughout the year, and we usually email you about that. But over here, where you see Solar Advocate, this is where you can find your referral information. Oops. And lastly, let's look at community solar compared to other forms or other renewable options. So most commonly, the most common questions we get are about rooftop solar versus community solar. Gary touched on this in the beginning. If you missed the explanation, just to briefly summarize again, rooftop solar is residential, like solar panels on your roof on your house, versus community solar, where you're connected to a solar farm. And they're both great options, but rooftop solar, as Gary mentioned before, kind of cuts off 80% of the market because not everybody is a homeowner and not everybody can afford to put panels on their roofs. So rooftop solar is on site. It means that you have to put something on your roof. The savings is not always guaranteed. It does take a while to see a return on that investment. And, depending on where your house is facing and how much shade you're getting, it might not be the best option for everybody to really save them a lot of money. Community solar, on the other hand, guarantees a savings. It's off-site. You don't need any additional equipment. There's no additional fees hidden in there. There's no additional investment or upfront costs that you need to put. It's always going to be local. So we will always connect you to a solar farm that is in your utility region, that is local. So if you're a Colorado customer, you're going to be connected to a solar farm in your area. You're not going to be connected to a solar farm all the way in Maryland. As we said before, we're hoping for more states to jump on consolidated billing. That is the goal. So some states already have that, but sometimes your billing can be consolidated. In terms of the green electricity option, this is just those renewable energy certificates. There's also some benefits to that, but as you can see, community solar encompasses a much greater share of the market. It allows for renters and homeowners to participate. And it's just a really great way to get people involved in sustainability and renewable energy who otherwise might not have an option for it. And with that, I'm going to hand it back to Gary.
All right, great. Thank you, Janani. And just a little bit more on the environmental impact. We'd like to show this, look at the bottom to scale, you can see, but the average community solar subscriber offsets the equivalent of 8 hot air balloons filled with CO2 each year. So you can see the little person at the bottom there, bottom right of the screen. That's quite a big environmental impact we all have from our household electricity use. But if you switch to community solar, you take that away. So community solar, like anything in the electricity world in the US, is state by state. Believe me, I wish it weren't that way, but it is. So every state has its own set of rules and guidelines, and every utility has different rules and how they work. But you can see the red states are where there already are programs, and this map is a little outdated. The yellow states where it says nascent on the East Coast, those are all actually established already. And Oregon on the West Coast is a new market. California, actually, we're still waiting. They passed an incredible bill, had widespread support, but their utility commission has thrown some poison pills into it, and we have to work that out. And then there's several states that are considering legislation to allow community solar, mostly in the Midwest. You can see there Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. And so we're hoping that this will, continue going to more and more states, because it's the only kind of solar that actually has very widespread support, because it's for everybody. So it has, the ratepayer support, advocates support it, social justice advocates support it, unions, of course, environmental community, renewable energy advocates, businesses. The only ones who sometimes oppose it are the utilities. And this is just an example from Neighborhood Sun, but again, we have other companies in the field that do all this as well. And so, they all together as a community solar industry, we've had a massive impact. For us, we signed up 24 new community partners in 2023. And the average annual savings for our low and moderate income customers are $280. And, that's money directly in their pockets. Low income is anybody who's at 200% of the federal poverty level. So you can imagine that $280 is really important. We've donated $85,000 to our community partners. As a group, we've offset 230 million metric tons of CO2. And overall, we just passed this milestone. Our customers have saved $6 million since Neighborhood started operating back in 2018. All right, a brief bit about Neighborhood Sun, and then we will get to all your questions, because I see there are many of them, and that's what we're here for. We want to answer the questions. So we only do the community solar acquisition and the customer management. We don't build the projects. We partner with the companies that build the projects. We're active in 7 states and Washington, D.C. We service over 25,000 customers. I think it's now about 30,000. We are a certified B Corporation. I'll talk more about that on the next slide. And our Sun Engine software exclusively focuses on community solar, and it really is it's adaptable to any kind of changes we want to make. So actually, if you ever have ideas on how we could make the My Solar portal better, we're always open to them. I can't guarantee we'll get to it right away, but we love your feedback on how to make the portal even better. And so a certified B Corporation, not everybody knows what that is. It's a company that is using business as a force for good. So we have to, in order to be a B Corp, we have to pass the highest standards of verified social and environmental performance, transparency, legal accountability, to balance profit and purpose. So we are for profit, but we are also organized as a corporation to do social good. I've been a huge proponent of B Corps. My prior company was a B Corp, one of the first 200 in the country. And it's something we're really proud of. We just got recertified, and we have one of the highest ratings of any company in the solar industry. All right, I saw one question about this. So we'll answer at least one question in the chat. We are a people-powered business. We have raised money over the last 6 years from individuals, either angels or retail investors, and you can own your piece of the sun. We are currently raising money through WeFunder, which is one of the leading crowdfunding platforms. Anybody can participate, not just high net worth individuals. That's the great thing about crowdfunding. You don't have to be a millionaire to participate. And the investment starts at just $250. It's an investment. It has nothing to do with your subscription or your account. Customers do not have to invest to stay a customer. This is completely separate. This is just how we raise money to grow our business and to grow our impact. And with that, we will get to the Q&A. We will leave this slide here. You can see our website is neighborhoodsun.solar. And if you are interested in looking at an investment opportunity, it's wefunder.com/neighborhoodsun. And I will also put my email address in the chat in case anybody has some questions for me, after this call, and I will be happy to answer. So, Janani, let's get to the questions.
Yep. So, folks, just go ahead and put any questions you have in the chat. I'm going to actually start with the first question. There's plenty of time to get through all of them, so we have the next 20 minutes. And if there are additional questions and we go over by a few minutes to answer them, that's also totally fine. So the first question has to do with billing. I'm happy to answer that. It is there a way to set up auto pay on an account? Right now, I have to pay manually with my credit card. So for the majority of customers, you are automatically on automatic payments. We try to keep our business as sustainable as possible and really try to reduce our carbon footprint. So we don't do a lot of manual billing or sending invoices by mail. We try to keep everything as electronic as possible. You will see on your invoice if you are being charged on your bank account or your credit card or your debit card. Generally speaking, most customers are automatically on automatic payments when they enroll and sign up. There is an exception. There are, a small group of customers that might have had a different managing organization overseeing their accounts before, and then they were transferred to us. So if you are paying manually still and you're on that old system, you can switch to auto pay. If you send us an email, any one of us are happy to assist you with that. But generally speaking, you're most likely already on automatic payments. It's also a part of our contract. And we try to keep that, make that as easy as possible with billing. So you're notified, you get your invoice on the statement date, and then on the due date is when we actually charge you for that amount automatically. The next question.
I want to
go
also
ahead,
point
Gary.
out, thanks, Jim, for that message. There is a typo there. The hello has an extra L. So just if anyone's like writing that down, it's just HELLO. There's no
Oh,
L's.
thanks. Thanks, Gary. I didn't see that.
Neither did I.
The next question has to do with the billing cycle. So the question is, you give credits to Xcel Energy, the utility provider, months before I get billed for those credits, so I can't figure out exactly how much I save with community solar. So typically speaking, as I mentioned on the slide with the billing schedule, you will get your credits on your utility bill 1 month before we invoice you. Unless you're on consolidated billing like the New York customers, which means your life is a lot easier. But for the rest of us, what that means is that the utility company assigns those credits to you first, and then they tell us how much was assigned to you. That's because it's the utility company that actually reads the meters. Again, your utility company owns the the power lines in your power grid. They check the meters, they check your meters. So they're the ones who actually look at the energy that was generated by the solar farm and assign out those credits to your individual utility bill. We don't have access to your utility bills, so we have to wait until the utility provider tells us how many credits you've gotten, and only then can we bill you. Um, the easiest way for you to see how much you're going to be billed is when you get your utility bill, you can see how many credits you've received. And if you know that you have a guaranteed discount of 10%, you know that we're going to charge you that amount minus 10%. So you can always anticipate what your invoice is going to be because we don't charge anything additional from that.
I just want to add two things also. One is that the scenario that Janani has sketched is in a perfect world. And unfortunately, utilities exist in an imperfect world. So there will be times, whether you're in Colorado, Maryland, even New York with consolidated billing, Massachusetts, New Jersey, there will be times where the utility screws things up. They don't put the right credits on, or they put too many credits on, and that doesn't help our cause for sure. And then, look, and so admittedly, we do sometimes screw up, but not nearly as much as those guys. So that's one. And the second thing is, I think a good way to figure out exactly, I mean, as Jenny said, you're going to see your invoice is going to show you how much you saved. But if you want to match that up with a prior utility bill, look at your invoice from Neighborhood Sun at that on the upper right side where Jenny was pointing out the production period that it covers. Oh, there it is. So in this case, it's the
February 3rd
oh,
to March 5th.
yeah, the invoice period is February 3rd to March 5th. So you should look at your, if you look at your old utility bill from that time period, and it should match up.
Yep. Then the next question is, do you require a credit check? For the majority of our solar farms, and it's listed on our website, and you can confirm if a credit check is required, but many of our solar farms do require a credit check for enrollment. If you have any questions about that, send us an email if you're not sure if you qualify, and we can double check and help you out with it, and get your credit check completed.
Yeah, and with most of low and moderate income customers, there's no credit check. And we've been advocating to move away from credit checks in general, and we're glad to see the industry is heading that way. And then I noticed we skipped a question by accident from Anne. She said, "You may well cover this, but can you explain billing and how your customers might need to adjust what they pay you as their electricity use may vary?" I did briefly kind of mention it that when I was talking about if the solar farm produces 100,000 kilowatt hours and you use in a year, and you use 10,000 kilowatt hours in a year, you're going to get 10% of that project's output. Now, in January, that might be equal to 500 kilowatt hours. In July, it might be equal to 1,200 kilowatt hours. So it is going to be variable, just like solar. But over the course of the year, it'll average out to that 10,000. And so what you do pay us will be different each month. What you save will be different each month. In the summer, when you're getting credits for 1,200 kilowatt hours, that's a lot more savings than when you're getting credits for 500 kilowatt hours.
Mhm. The next question was similar to how different suppliers can be selected that you can pay via the utility provider bill. Might there be a way in the future to combine the subscriber service to pay on their bill rather than a separate bill? Yes, as I mentioned before, and Gary can speak more to this, consolidated billing is coming to Maryland. So for our Maryland customers, eventually you will see one bill. You're not going to get a separate invoice from Neighborhood Sun. For our New York customers, you're already there and ahead of the curve. But Gary, did you want to say anything else about consolidated billing?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to make sure everyone understands that because we've used the term a lot. Consolidated billing is when you have your community solar credits on your bill, just like in every state, but you also have the charge from there. So I guess actually, if we could go back to that slide, Janani, where you showed the $100 and the 20% savings. Uh, the next one, uh, go back towards the beginning. This
Okay.
one. Okay, so this example is where we have dual billing, but if you had consolidated billing, all you would see is on the left-hand side, your electric bill, instead of being $110, would be $90. And that's it. And you don't have to pay Neighborhood Sun anything. You just save the $20 right there. So it is a lot easier for you guys. And the next question also is related to that about how do we realize the credit on the bill for paying Neighborhood Sun? Why are we also paying Pepco? Because in states that do not have consolidated billing, we have to do the billing for the solar project. And it's like this example that Janani's showing right now.
Yeah. And as I mentioned earlier, your utility provider is still required to charge you for taxes and fees because they're the ones who ultimately get that energy from point A to point B, which is your home. And they're also responsible for maintaining the grid. So if there's a power outage, they're the ones who go and fix it. Because of all those reasons, they're allowed to charge you certain fees for supplying, delivering, and also taxes associated with the state. That is why you still pay your utility bill. We'll try to cover as much of your electric charges as possible through community solar, but if you're paying gas as well, that goes on your utility bill. So for that reason, you have two bills. The next question is, if you sell your house, can you transfer the contract to them? Um, the best way is for the new homeowner to sign a new contract, but we can give them your place in the solar farm. It is not a difficult process. It's very easy to sign up as long as you have your utility account number and also a couple other numbers from your utility bill. If you have recently moved, your utility company can provide those numbers for you. So if you're moving and you want to transfer your contract, just send us an email and we can help you with that pretty easily.
Okay, I'll
Yeah.
take the next one, Jenny, because this is only applicable to Maryland. So we have a lot of Colorado folks on, so I'll just do this quick. Where does Clean Choice come into this? Pepco, which is a Maryland utility, says I get my power from them. So Clean Choice is a third-party supplier. That means they're the company instead of the utility. They're the ones who are um, sending you the power. They're using the utility wires to do so, but they're the ones who are supplying you your electricity. From a community solar perspective, it doesn't matter because all we're doing is putting credits on your bill, and it doesn't matter if those credits, if you see on the left-hand side, it says supply charges $90. It doesn't matter if that's Pepco supply charges or Clean Choice supply charges. You get the credits all the same. Um, but it is something you have to look into because Clean Choice and other third-party providers often charge you a lot more than what you're paying the utility.
hmm so the next question is about if you have rooftop solar panels that already cover most of your electricity bill, what happens then? This is a really great question. So we actually do have customers that have both. It really is up to the individual, but if you have rooftop solar panels that are covering maybe 70% of your electric bill and you want that last 30% to also be renewable, we can then reduce your share size of the solar farm to just cover what is remaining, what your rooftop panels don't cover. So we do have customers who have both. If you are overproducing electricity, then community solar might not be the best option for you because you're already producing more electricity than you use. But most customers who get rooftop solar, it doesn't cover all of their usage. It maybe covers like a portion of it, and then they will get community solar to kind of supplement the rest of their utility bill. You can send us an email, and we'll basically just ask for, the last few months of your utility bills to kind of get a good idea of how much your panels are producing, and then we'll try to offset whatever is left.
All right. The next question was somebody who was confused about the investment ad. So that's, I think I've gone over it, but just to reiterate, it's not a contribution. It is an investment, like you could buy stock in Apple, if only that were true, that we were like Apple, but you could buy, we're not a publicly traded company, we're private, but through WeFunder, you can actually invest in a portion of owning a little bit of Neighborhood Sun. And does that money grow? I can't guarantee that. That's like any stock. Stocks go up, stocks go down. We have a fantastic team at Neighborhood Sun. There's 25 of us all over the country. We are working very hard every day to grow the business and our impact, but we can't guarantee success.
Yep. And the next question was also about rooftop solar. I hope I understood, like, I hope I already answered that, about, if you produce more energy than you consume, then, community solar might not be the best fit for you. But if you're not sure, you can still reach out to us, and our specialists can take a look at your utility bill and see if you'll be a good fit. Gary, maybe you can answer the next question.
Yeah,
Why do you need customers? Why not just create a solar farm and sell the energy directly to the utility company?
Beth, I'm really glad you asked. As I said, I've been a climate clean energy activist for 25 years, and what you're talking about is called utility scale solar. That's where you build a solar plant and they sell the power to the utility. That is not going to get us anywhere close to the reduction in greenhouse gases that we need. Number one. Number two, there are many states like Maryland, for example, where you can't really build those kind of large plants because they take up too much space. And number three, for the solar industry, those kind of large plants are very hard to connect to the grid because they actually connect to the regional transmission organization, not to your local distribution grid. So it could take years for them to get permitted. And then fourth, and this could be most important for the community solar companies, why this is the fastest growing segment of solar in the country, is because when you sell directly to the utility, you are selling at a wholesale rate. So generally, let's take an example of, Maryland's the one I know best. But so in Maryland, that would be like 3 cents a kilowatt hour is what they would get from the utility if they sold directly. But when they sell to customers, they're able to give you a discount and still get 12 to 15 cents a kilowatt hour. So they make a lot more money on that. Now, there is some risk because customers leave, customers don't pay their bills all the time, but overall, it's a lot more profitable for the solar companies to have those kinds of plants. And finally, it just makes it accessible to everybody. Like I said, low and moderate income people who can actually save money on their bills. Whereas if you just sell it to the utility doesn't give anybody discounts because they're buying from a solar plant. Just look at the state of Florida where they do that, and they don't give any discounts on the solar that they buy. All right,
And
next
so,
question.
is my understanding is that the discount includes both generation and distribution. Um,
Yeah, I could take that. So
mhm.
that is the key to a good community solar program is it offsets every kilowatt hour charge on your bill, which could be supply, some of the delivery charges, not all of them. Some states have a flat, fee that you have to pay no matter what. But any kilowatt hour or variable charge is offset by a community solar uh, credit. So uh, in Pepco, Maryland, the electricity, the supply is about 9 cents. The delivery is about 6. The taxes are about 3. So altogether, that's close to 20 cents in Pepco, Maryland. And all of that is offset.
Mhm.
Right.
So I know we're running short on time. I think the next question is also about rooftop solar, which I think we've
Yeah.
answered.
Yeah.
Um, there are a couple of specific questions, which if you have a specific question about your bill, I would recommend you email us. Just so that we can also take a look at your bill and we can better explain what you're seeing. Um,
Or I will
so
also
we're,
say,
oh
hang
yeah.
on after everybody else leaves. Janani and I can stay on for another few minutes to at least get the conversation started.
Yep, absolutely. So we're getting two bills. Yes, so you'll get your utility bill. As you see with this example, if you were to add your utility charges to your community solar charges, like to your credits, it will equal how much you would have been paying before. So, if you're normally paying $110 every month for your utility bill, the only difference is that in a perfect scenario, you're paying $10 with your utility provider and you're getting $100 in credits, which are then also discounted. So you're saving some money on top of that. But if you were to add the credits of $100 to how much you paid on your utility bill of $10, it'll equal how much you were paying before. So you're not paying anything additional. You're just paying for the solar separately in states where we still have to follow this billing system. How do
Okay, I'm
suppliers?
just looking,
Oh,
Kennedy.
go
I
ahead.
see there's a lot of questions left. So, I mean, I'm happy to stay on and go through as many as possible. You know, if people want to hop off, I completely understand. We
Mhm.
all have lives to deal with. This is what I do, what Jenny and I do for a living. So for us, it's different. But we will we will go through the rest of the questions very quickly, and we will urge you to look at what I put in the post with the chat, which is my email, and I put Janani's email. That gets directly to either one of us as well. So if we don't get a chance to answer or we skip it too quickly and you still don't get it, um, you can do that. Um,
Yep.
so where were we?
How
Uh,
do supplier and delivery rates of my utility factor in if
Right.
I
So
have a
we kind of
lower
answered that with
cost?
the clean choice question. I mean, basically, whatever your supply charges are, it doesn't matter. The value of the credit is the same for everybody. Actually, that's a point I realized I didn't make. The value of the credit is not determined by what your charges are specifically on your bill. The value of the credit is determined by the standard utility price. So that example I gave of Pepco, Maryland, where altogether it's about 20 cents a kilowatt hour, that's the value of the credit. If you have a cheaper supplier and you're paying 17 cents a kilowatt hour, doesn't matter. You get 20 as your credit. If you have more expensive, paying 25 cents, doesn't matter. You get 20 cents as your credit.
Mhm. The next question is, I haven't received credits yet since I signed up in May. I'm on an equal payment plan. Will I be paying the budget amount less the solar credit? Um, I would advise, and if you're still on the call, to email me directly because I can talk to you more in detail about this. But just a general answer, if you sign up in May, and if your utility company was relatively quick with the turnaround, that means you should see credits on the next utility bill that you get in June. Um, so at the end of this month, or at the start of the next month. But if utilities take a little bit longer, it might take another, couple weeks for you to see your credits. And I'll hand
All
it off
righty.
to Gary for the next.
All right. If I move to a new house in the local area, can I take my subscription? Yes, if it's the same utility area. So Colorado, you guys got it because almost most of the state is Excel. But so if you move within Excel, you just take it with you. In other states, it has to be the same utility area. Next question, is community solar, if it's local, why is there delivery charge in the utility bill? Again, because community solar is providing you credits. Your utility bill stays the same, but just minus the credits you get. James asked a little bit more about our business model, profit loss, etc. I'd love to talk about that, but I urge you to go to the wefunder.com/neighborhood sun. We have a really nice little video, and we have our financials up there. We talk about the business model, and everything. And if you still read that and don't and have questions, you can also email me, and we could set up a call. I'm happy to do that. Todd asked, can you explain how WeFunder works? I'll just quickly say WeFunder as a crowdfunding platform allows you to invest in private companies like Neighborhood Sun. You'll be part of the group that has that investment. And if we, go public or we get bought out, you guys would then get, just like any other stock, you would get a return. Brian's giving, thank you, Brian. Okay, he's giving an answer, but it's saying how it's not like rooftop solar because he's never getting a free month of energy. Well, unless your rooftop system was donated to you for free, it's not really free. So rooftop is either you pay all of it up front, or you pay monthly, or you do it through a lease. So even though your utility bill might be zero, you are paying for those panels. Terry says Colorado Excess has us on peak hour billing. All right, Terry, we're going to have to get back to you on peak hour stuff there because that's very specific. The choose is saying if a customer's energy usage changes year to year, are they resized automatically? Unfortunately, no, because the utility doesn't tell us what percentage of your usage we're offsetting. So if you signed up with us and we were offsetting 90%, but then you got an EV and you doubled the amount of electricity you're using, we would be only offsetting 45% at that point, and we wouldn't even know that. So unfortunately, yes, you have to reach out to us and let us know, and there's no additional fees for that. We can either increase your size or decrease it. Some of you folks like me, you've had your kids move out, you're empty nesters now. Shockingly, my electricity bill has gone way down. Okay, the next question is, why do we need customers? We already talked about that. Someone says they prefer the dual billing. Okay. Tim is saying, if community solar is highly successful, does that force local grid updates, or can this be offset with home business utility battery storage combined with, I can't read what that says, something metering? Okay, this is kind of a complex question. What I'll say is that because community solar farms are built on the distribution grid, not on the regional transmission organization, it does reduce the amount of infrastructure you need in your local community. So in the long run, it actually saves money for everybody, because the more community solar there is, the less you need to have the infrastructure. You also don't need to import energy. Using Maryland as an example, most of the people live in Baltimore, and the East Coast is like that, right? New Jersey, most of the people are closer to the coast. New York City, obviously close to the coast, but most of the production is actually out west. So that creates all this congestion, which adds a lot of expenses to people. With community solar, you don't have any of that. That was the last question. All right. So thank you, everybody. If there's somebody who had a specific question, and I know there were a couple, I just lost track of it. If you want to speak up now, that's fine. And then we'll most likely have to get back to you, because we're not going to have a specific answer most likely tonight. So for the rest of you, thank you guys very much. We appreciate every single customer, every single member of our community. We are so excited that we're in Colorado now. It's been a fantastic state for us to work in. Our home state is Maryland, so we love that, but we have really grown to love Colorado quite a bit, and we have many more projects coming in Colorado. So one of the reasons we're actually looking for investment is because we want to hire a Colorado state coordinator. So it would be great to have someone who's permanently based out in Colorado. All right, well, thank you, folks. And the program is recorded, so we will send out a recording to you guys. We'll probably do another version of this, I would say, in about a month.
Yep.
Thank you all. And Janani, let's just stay on for a few minutes in case there's a couple people who have any last minute questions.
Yep. And if you have any questions specifically about your subscription or your bill, I'm going to put my email again. You can email me directly with a copy and I can take a look if I didn't answer your question here.
Thank you, folks. It's so nice to see all these positive messages. Okay, Todd asked if the financials are available. Yes, they are available on the WeFunder page for Neighborhood Sun. So if you go to wefunder.com/Neighborhood Sun, you can click on, there's a link that says financials, and it has our financial performance through the end of last year. All right. Well, the rest of you guys who are still on, did you have some some questions? There's still 27, so I'm not sure we're going to get to them all right now. Oh, there's one more in the chat. There are changes coming in New Jersey in 2025. Yeah, the changes are that they're hoping to have consolidated billing. So it'll do away with these double bills. Instead, you'll just have one bill. And it seems like it's happening, but with anything with the utilities, there's always delays. All righty. So anyone who's still on who Todd, Todd, I'm really glad you're looking at the financials already and the WeFunder website. Yes, Neighborhood Sun has not been profitable yet. We had our best year ever for revenue. We did almost $5 million in revenue, which is a 257% increase over the year before. But we lost money, and we did lose less money last year than we lost this year, and I mean in the year before. And we are on a path to profitability. We think we are going to be having cash flow positive months starting about Q2 of next year. Okay, the rest of you guys, if you just want to unmute yourself and ask, we'll try to go through quickly, or maybe I'll call on people because we're happy to stay a little extra, but only if you actually have specific questions. So Al Fornes, do you have a question? Lonnie Millman, Jim Ronk, Daryl Porter, Tom Conley, Jim Altman, Marilyn, Martin Levin.
Harry, I have a question. Yes, this is Martin.
Okay.
So I've worked with your company for a couple of years now, and we got about 25 families to sign up when you were supporting our spiritual community, which was fantastic. And I'm concerned because it looks like the credits being allocated to the different accounts are not consistent with the portion of the allocation by family. And I don't understand why that's the case. Do you have any idea about that?
Martin, I'm sorry, which state are you in?
New Jersey, sorry.
Okay.
Part of the
the Tri-County. You're one of the, like, you from a couple years ago.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, wow. All right. Well, thank you, Martin. We actually have new projects in New Jersey we're working on now.
Oh, I'd love to hear about them because there are some other, I just did a presentation today about the IRA bill and all the benefits. And one of the things we talked about was community solar. That's why I wanted to
Oh,
get on the call.
fantastic. Well,
And
Martin, if I could ask you just to email me,
sure,
and I'd be happy to follow up, and, better understand your question that way. And we could also talk about the new projects we have.
that'd be great. Thank you very much.
Yep,
Look,
thank you. All right, we're going to assume that that's it. Going once, going twice. All right. Thank you, everybody, and thank you, Janani, and let's end the meeting.
Alrighty, thanks everybody. Send us an email if we if we still need to answer any of your questions. Take care and have a good evening.